Live from Covalent Island, this is Derailed Trains of Thought. Hello, Tim. We're on a beach here today, which is kind of nice.
Hey, Nick. Yeah, this is nice. It's snowy back in Indiana, so
It is.
Nice to be on a beautiful beach. That's an interesting volcano in the background there.
Yeah, it looks... Is that an egg on top of that thing?
Maybe
That's weird.
that's a giant. If that's an egg, man, that's a giant bird. I'm not sure I want to be around if it hatches.
No, and yeah, it's pretty nice now, but you can tell just kind of from the way it's been pretty rough recently.
And I'm seeing a lot of like big monster tracks in the sand here. Are you sure this place is safe?
No.
Okay. I wish I had a shield or a sword or something.
Yeah, something. Don't go alone.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Yeah.
dangerous to go alone.
Anyways, Tim, how's life?
Life is trucking on. I can't complain too much. At least I don't have a war in my backyard like some other places in the world, and I live in a relatively friendly states, which is nice.
Yeah, we don't all the like natural disasters happen like everywhere else. Like Indiana's just like
It's
weather.
the Shire. Indiana is the Shire.
With weather swings from August to January in a week, but
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'll take that.
Yes. I'll take that over crazy politics in other states any day.
Yes, exactly. And we're moving towards this recording towards Thanksgiving break for school, so
Yes.
it's going well. But the kids are getting a little antsy. Not
Yes.
bad, but just antsy.
There's a good chance this podcast will come out after Thanksgiving,
Yes.
but still, it is a fun time of year with that kind of, exciting things just around the corner.
And then we get back and we have to somehow teach them for the 2-3 weeks between then and Christmas. And they won't be ready for it.
Good luck.
All right. But anyways, let's go ahead and move into our story school. So for today, we're going to talk about dream sequences. A lot of time we talk about plotting, how stories work, but dream sequences is kind of a unique bit of story. Not a bit of story, but a unique bit of story where someone goes to sleep and they usually have some sort of wild imaginings, or if it's an animated thing, like surreal Salvador Dali-esque marching elephants or something. And at least this was your idea, and you kind of wanted to rant a little bit about it.
Yeah, this is a little bit of an interesting, new topic for us in some ways. I'm not sure we ever talked about like a certain kind of scene within a story, which is kind of what this feels like.
But it's very unique. I mean,
it's distinct.
It's distinct. It has a different feeling than most other parts of a plot.
Yeah. So we'll talk first about the bad side of dream sequences, but since we here at Derailed Trains of Thought like to be positive,
Yes.
we'll examine what's bad about dream sequences and dreams and stories in general, I guess, and then we'll flip it and we'll see, or maybe you will convince me what's good about them.
Well, it's interesting too because it happens often enough that we can talk about dream sequences being like a plot element.
Yeah.
So if it happens continually, there must be something authors are trying to do.
Right.
Whether it always works, and that's what we'll discuss here. But obviously, there's something there that people are like, this needs to be in my story or my somehow.
Yeah. So I think the quote unquote rant, if you will, or what I don't like about dream sequences is, for one thing, sometimes they do feel more like a cliche. Like, here's a scene, because I've seen dream sequences in other stories before. Let's do this. And sometimes they are a way to examine a character's psyche in certain ways.
And I think generally done well or badly, it's largely examination of the interior life of a person.
Yeah, the interior, what's going on, what's motivating them, what are they afraid of, what's going on in their head at this time. But it's usually in this surreal kind of mode that sometimes it might start off kind of normal, but then like there'll be a switch that turns like, okay, this is weird, this is a dream. And for me, I don't know that it's always a very satisfying way of getting into a character's psyche.
Question.
Yeah.
How do you feel about dreams generally, like even in real life? Do you find them just weird? Do you like to remember them?
That's a fair question. It depends. I'm not as huge a fan of dreams as some people I know. I don't remember a lot of them. There'll be some I remember. There's a particular one that I always think back to where I kind of felt like I had a small taste of heaven, which is great. And there'll be other ones where like something will stick with me, and I'll sometimes enough that I might write it down, and then I'll go back and read it, and it's like, oh yeah, I kind of remember some of those, a little bit of that. But then more often I'll have forgotten it by the end of the week, if not by the end of the day.
Yeah, I don't remember many of my dreams anymore, and I think I used to, and I don't get as like freaked out about them or whatever, but they don't have a giant impact. Like sometimes I wake up like, oh, and write down. Every once in a while though, you have one of the dreams, and you don't you wake up and be like unsettled because like it never got settled in your dream, and you're just like,
Yeah.
It doesn't happen a lot to me, but some people, I've heard people joke about how like they'll wake up and they'll be angry at someone because something they did in their dream, sort of stuff. So I guess I bring that up because even before you get to fiction imitates life, and there's just something weird about dreams.
Yeah.
Like we don't know what to do with them a lot of times.
You lie down on your bed for hours on end, and your mind goes into hallucinations that you have very little control over.
Yeah.
I mean, in an ideal situation, sometimes, yeah, you can be the star of a cool movie. Like I remember used to having dreams of like being a fugitive from the law or on the run or something. And those were at least exciting, even if they never had an interesting ending.
I got shot in a dream once. I remember jerking out of my...
Oh, really?
Yeah. After I remember Natasha's like, what's going on? I'm like, I just got shot 3 times.
Wow.
It was I don't have a lot. That one was very, I had that one. I think there was one other time where like I got real, like my wife had to wake me up because I was like freaked out or something in the middle of it. It doesn't happen a lot, but every once in a while, yeah.
I always remember the night after I saw Inception in the theater. It was the most fun I've ever had being paranoid in my dreams. My dreams were so topsy-turvy and like constantly like, am I really dreaming? Am I really awake? I had something like that not too long ago. I don't know where that came from, but it was one of these, because it was like one of those Calvin and Hobbes things where like in the dream, I woke up and was like what started going through my morning routine, and then suddenly later realized I was still actually asleep.
Yeah, it's weird in a dream when you think you're waking up, but then you realize you haven't. Super weird. Anyways, all brings to that. Dreams are weird.
Yes.
And I think channeling that into a story that we expect stories to make sense, that everything's there for purpose.
Yeah, and I think that can be frustrating sometimes when it feels the dream is, again, I said earlier, sometimes it feels blatantly obvious what the dream is there for.
Yeah.
But other times when it's just weird, then I start getting impatient for other reasons. Like, I don't know, if you ever, when you were a kid, like one of your siblings wanted to tell you a dream, and at some point you're like, can I please just go on with my day? Your dream makes no sense.
So I guess one bad version of the dream sequence is the ones that are so surreal or so untethered from a foundation that you're just like, the writer is enjoying maybe the words or the filmmaker of the visuals
doing some weird visuals or something.
But the meaning becomes lost, and so I feel this way. When you feel untethered in the middle of when you're invested in a story, it's kind of disorienting, and I don't like it much when that happens.
Yeah, and I don't think kids like it that much either. Yeah. It happens in a couple of kids' movies. Like I remember Winnie the Pooh and the Blustery Day. You've got the Heffalumps and Woozle sequence. As a kid, I loved Winnie the Pooh, but I would never watch that particular one because of that sequence. The Brave Little Toaster has got that crazy nightmare with like a killer clown, and then he's like bringing fire. Like that was a scene that when my sisters used to watch it, they just skip it because it's a completely useless, scary dream nightmare sequence that has no bearing to the plot.
So I guess what happens in those cases, and I think all creators have to be careful of this, sometimes we can get so caught up in our, to put the best term on it, playfulness. And we're like, oh, wouldn't it be fun to just play with this idea or these words or these images or this emotion? And I think, not that there's not a place for the creator to do that, but whether it fits into this particular story or whether it should just be something
like a separate music video or something.
Or something you just do for yourself, or like, it's one of those things where
it's questionable.
Like, what's the purpose in the whole thing? Like, yeah, maybe this is a great piece of writing and surrealism and whatever. And surrealism, I have both ways on. Like, I can see the uniqueness of it, but simultaneously, it is sometimes so far from reality. It's like,
what do I do with this?
What do I do with this? We watched that, we mentioned it once before, that Salvador Dali Walt Disney thing. And you're just like, what now?
Yeah. I mean, at least that it was a standalone short film.
And so it's not trying to be anything but, hey, this is a surreal dream sequence, and you can just take it as is and enjoy it or not.
Yeah. When it's in the middle of a story that has very little effect outside of it, then it becomes what has been called on the internet a big-lipped alligator moment.
Why is it called that?
Because it's a reference to a song in All Dogs Go to Heaven where there's a big-lipped alligator that comes, sings a weird song for no reason, and then they just go on with the movie. He has nothing else to do with it. It's one of those weird, like, here's a song in a kid's movie.
So a dream sequence as being a non sequitur at worst is not great.
Not
and again,
great.
that's what dreams are in our lives sometimes. We're trying to make meaning of it. We can't, and they just exist. But like you said earlier, there's also dream sequences that they're not adding anything new. They're just sort of like to kill space about something we already know.
Yeah, that we know that, okay, we know he's scared of his father or upcoming responsibilities. Or, okay, here's an example that kind of straddles these two categories. So my least favorite episode of Lost.
I thought this was going to come, yeah.
Fire and Water, or Fire plus Water, whatever, however you say it. Early on, Charlie has this dream about baptizing Aaron or something.
Or something, a piano in the water, and
yeah, it makes no sense. It's very surreal, but it sets up his like feeling that it's very important that Aaron gets baptized for some reason, and it's never fully explained why. I mean, we know Charlie has got this Catholic background, and the dream plays into some of that, but it just makes Charlie look crazy for no reason. It's a really bad episode. The one episode of Lost I really don't like, actively don't like, but it feels like it's. Like I said, straddling those lines. It's kind of surreal, but it's also like feeding into like some stuff we know about Charlie and also setting up the rest of the episodes.
So I think a dream sequence like that, what the author or creator's trying to do is largely like trying to ramp up the emotion, but sometimes it just is, for whatever reason, failing. It's basically just repeating the emotion or saying it in a way that doesn't connect with, again, some people dig dream sequences, some people don't.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I think the problem is sometimes when you're getting into one of these dream sequences that is about the character psyche, the audience can pretty quickly identify, okay, this is what this scene is. I can mentally check out for a few minutes because I know.
Unless it's super engaging, but it's hard to be super engaging if it's not either adding something new or the problem with the dream sequencing thing is sometimes our problem with multiverses. It doesn't matter, the stuff there.
Yeah.
Now, when we get to good ones, you can make it matter.
Yeah.
But we won't do that quite yet.
I don't know. I think those are the two main things that I have against them. Again, like I said, it's either setting up stuff that you can tell the audience more succinctly in other ways. You know, just simple visual good acting. You don't necessarily need a whole dream sequence. Or it's so surreal that it doesn't have much bearing on anything else.
And there's very few. There are a couple surreal, and they're not quite dream sequences. They're that kind of work. Like, you still haven't seen it. And apparently, it's never going to hit the right year on.
Let's finally watch this.
2001: Space Odyssey.
Oh,
the end of that. It's not a dream sequence per se, but it has the feeling of a dream sequence.
What year did that come out?
I don't know. 70 something.
Okay, well, I know.
Maybe someday.
I don't know that we can always wait to see these things. Maybe I'm not going to purposely wait.
You know, when you have a special season, that's just like
everything else.
It's just like, this is the season where we have to watch the movies that the other person says you need to watch this.
That could be. But
anyways,
we'll see.
Again, we won't talk a lot about that, but like that's an example of one that's surreal and it's hard to understand, but sometimes it's hard to argue that it doesn't need to exist in the movie because of they're talking about raising consciousness and evolution and all this other stuff.
So yeah. Again, I don't know enough about the story, but
it's
like,
weird.
Is it an actual dream or is it just a surreal moment?
It's, from my memory, it's been a while. It's a visual expression of basically a man moving to the next stage of evolution.
Okay.
It's wonky.
Yeah.
So just leave it there.
Okay.
So let's take some good deep dream sequences though. Let's take not the surreal, but the emotion that's put into a dream and communicated. We recently, I think you finished. Did you finish Farthest Shore?
We have not, actually.
Okay, but you've got far enough to make this work. In this book by Ursula Gwen, we'll talk more about it in January.
Yes, it's one of our book club books,
Yeah.
so you'll hear more about it.
But anyways, there's multiple times when one of the main characters has this dream of this guy and this kind of dry land and this beckoning, this light, and it's very unsettling for him. What's interesting about the dream is simultaneously a dream, but it's also an actual outside force communicating with him.
Okay.
You know, it's like using dream to have another force, person, element communicate in symbols or in
in a way that's a character wouldn't be able to. I don't actually know if I remember this part yet.
well, you've been when they talked to the crazy wizard guy, and he said, "Come and we'll go open the door together." And
The one who had been like all drugged up.
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
no, but there's just these scenes of the prince kind of falling asleep and having this sense of this guy calling.
Okay.
I'm going. Anyway, then it shows up a couple times throughout the book. But I think dreams to express not only internal self, but internal self where there is plot being done, where there is an outside influence, whether it's whatever it's be, whether it's almost like a vision or a prophecy or a actual struggle in the character, maybe.
That's a fair point. And Babylon 5, there's a couple in the movie Third Space, there's that like crazy eldritch horror that's right outside the space station, essentially. And one of the characters who's a latent telepath enters into her dreams. And so she has this like premonition of things going on.
Yeah.
So that's an example of that.
And it's, I'm going to push on a dream. The Very Long Night of Lando Malari. He's basically unconscious.
He's in a coma.
He's in coma.
But it's kind of like a dream sequence.
But it's secret, and he's having this basically wrestling with himself about sins he's done and how he's going to deal with them. And it's this internal strife that's never been resolved. And I think there's a space for the nice thing about dream sequences is that you can move things to the symbolic, to the elemental. That's kind of the best version, I think, of the use of a dream sequence.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, because that's a really good episode.
It's a really good episode.
And it is an interesting exploration of the psyche. I mean, the strong part about that kind of story in that kind of format is that is one episode of an ongoing show.
That's true.
So it's not like this is a movie, or we might have a category, I don't know if we'll get to it later, where, you got some stories that like the whole story is a dream. And that's like, it's okay. It's a genre of itself. But like in this, that's a particular example where you've got this character who has this ongoing story, but within one certain time frame, he's got and it's not just like one scene. It's like most of the episode.
It's about 40 minutes of dream sequence, probably.
Yeah, which makes it, I think, a lot more meaningful than if it was just like a 2-minute or 4-minute sequence.
I think real life, the people are fascinated with dreams are, you have all these books say, what do they mean? That they mean something, that this symbol means this means this. And biblically, there are dreams that can be interpreted.
Yeah.
And I think the strongest dreams in the story might be the ones where that is both meaningful but not directly obvious, or it's revelatory.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, we recently read Madeline Ingle's book, Walking on Water.
Yeah.
And she talks a lot about Christians need to engage their intuition, or like their knowing without really knowing side.
It's like knowing, not anti-rational, but rational plus.
Yeah. Kind of the intuition's the only word I can really
spiritual think. Almost.
Spiritual almost, yeah. And she references dreams as one of those things, kind of the mind working itself out unconsciously kind of stuff. And the fact that you can have all kinds of interesting flights of fancy and imaginings, and sometimes like your brain pondering ideas in a way. So yeah, I think if you really lean into that could be a very interesting way to have a deeper character study. Or, like you said, to express thoughts and feelings in a more abstract way.
Now, what you just finished, Eye of the World.
Oh, yes. You're
giving
away one of my secrets, Nick.
Yes, I know.
We'll talk again more about this coming in our January book.
No, but it reminded me, there are a variety of dream sequences in that book.
The Eye of the World, listeners, is the first book of the Wheel of Time series, just so you know.
But I don't know. What do you feel about those? Do those work or not work? Because Randall Thor especially Randall Thor, has numerous dreams where the main bad guy basically is communicating with him. Are those like, okay, we've seen this, we don't need to keep doing this, or are they adding attention and because it is an outside force?
Yeah, I'd say it's kind of a mixed thing. It is interesting that like the main bad guy of the series has this direct way to communicate with him through his dreams. So once you realize, no, this isn't just his like when it first happens, you don't know what to make of it.
Yeah.
You have no idea if that is actually the main bad guy. It's like if Frodo was dreaming that Sauron was talking to him in dreams.
Yeah.
Like that's a terrifying idea, but you don't really know, is that really what's going on? So on the one hand, it does build intention of like, wow, maybe this is actually really dangerous. On the other hand, I remember some of the early ones like, oh gosh, another one of these.
Yeah.
What does this even mean? It's going to be all dark and terrifying. And
So once you figure out what they meant, did that help, you think?
I think once you figured out that it's like, no, this is real. His guide, once he finally told her, which I think it's not until very late in the book.
Telorandria. They haven't used that word yet, but there's a whole world of dreams that you can enter into. And
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's still a double-edged sword there.
I wonder, maybe what we're getting at least for us, is that there really needs to be context, purposeful context to make the dream so the reader knows pretty easily what's the point of this. What that it's not just our experience of dreams is like, is the dream meaningful or is it just gook in your head trying to express itself? Because most people don't want to read in a book stuff that is just, okay, yeah, you're expressing the internal chaos of the main character, but it's still just internal chaos.
Yeah.
As opposed to adding tension, adding plot, adding meaning, adding vision, adding something to it. Revealing something new.
Yeah. I mean, it is possible, like you said, that I have this kind of distaste for it because, like, every now and then I'll wake up in the morning just kind of annoyed because, like, okay, what the heck was all that nonsense about?
Yeah.
Just get on with my day where the world makes some amount of sense.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, in a story, we want it to be a more curated experience.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why if it's just weird stuff, there's something interesting when someone can do. I mean, I will admit I enjoy pink elephants on parade a little bit more as an adult than I did as a kid.
And again, you're enjoying it probably more for the
imagination
and almost this stylistic ability, and the art of it.
Yeah.
Than the story of it.
Yeah, I mean it's more fun to watch pink elephants as like a YouTube video than it is like in the context of a movie.
Yeah, and I think sometimes I know early on when I was a writer and when I would write dream sequences, I think try to channel that dreaminess of dream sequences, but I think that's also the thing that makes them not enjoyable for readers. Mm-hmm. Is that we don't really want that sort of chaotic mess. We want to feel like it's like how you're supposed to write dialogue. No one should write dialogue how people actually talk. You write a flavor of how they talk. And I think maybe dream, same thing. If you write a dream sequence like it actually works in your head, no one wants that.
Yeah. I guess I thought of one other instance where it could be useful, and that is when the dream sequence is funny.
I was thinking that because I've not seen a lot of the new DuckTales, but my kids watch the whole thing. But I just remember one when, I don't know, someone pulled him in a dream, and one of the ducks has giant legs because he loves that, and they can manipulate the dream. So it's like a wish fulfillment, and it's funny. And it does reveal their character too. It's not just funny; it's also them expressing doubts and their own desires.
That's true. Yeah, no, that was a fun episode. I'd forgotten about that. They're all weirded out that he has regular body but just absurdly long legs.
That's his dream.
Yeah. He's like, I don't have as good of imagination as you. Another example in Avatar: The Last Airbender, when Aang is so stressed out about, I guess these are almost more hallucinations than dreams, but he's so stressed out about having to go lead this battle that he starts like hallucinating like his animals talking to each other and all types of crazy stuff. And it's madness, but it's really funny. And so I feel like that's a good excuse.
I think you're right. I think because dreams are so, they have a double-edged sword, that the funny works a lot more because, and a lot of times when it's funny, it's also revealing something about the character, but like in a very over-the-top sort of way.
Right.
It's like, and it's that sort of pointing out their foibles or pointing out, how tired they are, pointing out, and we can all get that sort of slap-happy dream sort of stuff. That's fun.
I think the one time I remember doing a dream sequence myself was a chapter of Dragons Intertwined.
Okay, yeah.
One of our serials. I did the chapter I did about our gnome character. I think I started out with a dream where he was like an awesome mech engineer thing in this world that doesn't actually have mechs, but he was an engineer, so it was kind of a fun, like, over the top thing for him to play the hero in his own dream.
Yeah, because then there's wish fulfillment, and that dream sequence becomes more the flights of fancy.
Yeah.
I think most readers, viewers enjoy flights of fancy. If they like the character, they want to play it. Playing is fun.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
And I think dreams as flights of fancies rarely goes wrong unless it's just so ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that covers a lot of it. You want to get into the broader categories here?
Sure. Well, real quick, since we've been talking about this, I think a lot of these things apply. What?
Well, let's just touch on them. We'll cover this briefly.
Yeah. I guess I just want to touch briefly. We talked about good dream sequences, bad dream sequences. I think this also applies to just any sort of altered state, to daydreams, to hallucinations. I think a lot of it is not quite the same, but a lot of these same rules and what works and what doesn't work
overlap
in these sorts of things. You're so sleep deprived, you start seeing things sort of thing.
If you're going to go non sequitur, you should really make it a funny non sequitur. If it's just bizarre or random or kind of just to throw a curveball at your audience just to say, haha, not as satisfying.
Yeah, it really has to be funny or meaningful in a way that we understand somehow. And then, like Tim mentioned, there are some genres where the dream is largely the story. I joked about before we started recording, technically the movie of Wizard of Oz is all a dream.
The movie version. I guess the book she really does go to.
She does really go.
Yeah, to all these places.
I mean, Inception is a dream within a dream.
It's all about exploring dreams. Yeah. Even Alice in Wonderland, at least the Disney one, she's dreaming the whole time.
Yeah, I can't remember the books. I think the books, I think the book might be a dream. It's again, that whole... It's all a setup to be like, don't think logic no longer exists in the same way.
Yeah.
Again, that's why there's a hate-love relationship for many people with Alice in Wonderland. Like, I enjoy it because I can deal with that sort of, there's a logic to it that's different than normal logic. Mm-hmm. But when we watch a Disney cartoon with our kids, I loved it. Serenity loved it. My wife is like, this is just too weird. Like, she does not, that sort of offness does not work for her.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you think it says something about previous generations that had to have it was all a dream excuse for the weird fantasy story that they wanted to do?
Oh.
I've seen some people suggest that was one reason why a Wizard of Oz movie is a dream as opposed to the book, because they didn't think audiences would accept basically an alternate reality. Nowadays audiences would accept, sure, send me to Narnia, send me to this other dimension, whatever. But you think at one point it was like, we have to have it in this dream scenario to like accept it?
You know what? I think there's probably some truth to that. I don't know the history or anything, but it does seem like if you were going to do something fantastical, either had to be very deliberately start out in a different place with different rules, or had to be a dream that you wouldn't move from the real world, do something fantastical.
Yeah.
In the same way that nowadays, I don't know what it says about us, the fact that all these fantasy worlds exist simultaneously. I mean, maybe that says something about how well we are rooted in reality or not.
It depends on how you look at it, I guess.
But I do think we have been so exposed to these fantasy worlds that now it's just, the language of fantasy is so much easier.
Yeah, yeah.
Versus there was a very real world, and then, okay, you'd write this world that was different, but it's different. It's supposed to be different. It's a different thing.
People will accept it as something different. Yeah.
And there might be something to that. I never thought about that, but I think that's a really good point. And yeah, it doesn't now make me wonder how attached to reality we are.
I mean, even like Pilgrim's Progress he starts off as like, John Bunyan's like, I was wandering through the world and I lay down and lo, I had a dream. And that's the whole novel.
And I believe, I could be completely wrong, I think Dante's Inferno, the whole Divine Comedy, might be technically that.
Oh, interesting.
I could be wrong. There might also be walking into a forest, and it's all symbolic too. So it's been a long time. So someone who knows it better than me, you can prove me wrong.
But there is something about, like, as these genres develop, we get a lot more literacy. It's like when we talked about, like, with Avengers Endgame.
Yeah.
They go through all the rules of time travel because we've had so many movies that have talked about that.
Yep.
It's a much different world than, like, you go back and watch Back to the Future.
And he has to explain everything. And
yeah, it seems very elementary at this point. But
yeah, so any sort of altered state, any sort of, like, you can break the normal logic of reality, I think you got to be either doing it for fun, or you got to be really careful how you frame it.
Yeah.
Yeah, even in our world today where people are much more open to these over-the-top sort of things, I think they still want a story to make have internal consistency. And the dream breaks that consistency or can. Mm-hmm. But if you can keep the dream working the same internal consistency as the rest of the story somehow, I think it works a lot better.
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought in that The Long Night of Londa Malari was not an example I had thought of, but I really like that as an example of a story that's set in a dream, that's self-contained largely within a dream, that uses it to really good effect.
Well, plus in the consistency of, say, Babylon 5, where it's from, we've routinely had stories about, with him and with other people, about why do you do things and how do you ask forgiveness and what's moral repercussion. So it's like, even though it's all become symbolic, it's all become probably Jungian, how they say, or
Jungian.
Hungian, which my guess is actually Straczynski probably is using that idea of the archetypal sort of stuff.
I'm not sure that's actually how you say that.
I don't know. But the idea that, that dreams are archetypal things.
Carl Jung or Jung or however you say his name.
That idea that dreams are archetypal, I think can work really well if done well. I mean, but done with the idea that these things are archetypal, that we are treating our characters' understanding of himself in this way, but we're still being true to and honest to how the story works, to how the themes that we've been talking about, things like that.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. And with that, we will go for our first soundtrack.
For soundtrack today, I was thinking about a couple different video games. One, I thought maybe Kirby, because Kirby comes from Dreamland, but at the same time, I was like, yeah, but it's not really a dream-like land. It's just a name, I think. So, but I was also like, I'd really love to use something from Kingdom Hearts 3D Dream Drop Distance.
Which is technically a dream, right?
Yes, they actually are in dreaming worlds in that game. Yeah. So I was like, that would be appropriate. But I was having a hard time finding something until I came across this remix of the Dream Eater theme from that game. And this guy, Kaiser Beats, he actually used some of the sound files from a Kirby game, Kirby Mass Attack, to make this cover of the Dream Eater theme. So I think
best of all the worlds.
Exactly. And this is very short because the original melody is pretty short, and I think you will be grateful for that. But I hope you will enjoy this quirky little song.
Well, hope you enjoyed that quirky little short song.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'm all for quirky. Next, we'll go to Once Upon a Sentence. To remind everyone of last month's sentence, here it is one more time, and then we did have a winner.
We did it.
We did. So here we go. The very fact of the death of someone close to them aroused in all who heard about it, as always, a feeling of delight that he had died and they hadn't.
And that was from Alice in Wonderland.
Nope, The Stranger. No, Death of Ivan Ilyich.
Uh-huh.
And which I just read this summer, and is a fabulous book. It's short. It's a novella. You really should read it if you have any interest in Tolstoy or Russian literature at all.
So it's a Tolstoy book. Yeah. I was going to say, please tell us who it's by. Leo Tolstoy.
And yes, Leo Tolstoy and Katie Hobbs knew that.
She was our correct guesser. So
she's training all her life for this Once Upon a Sentence.
Doing a lot of reading, I guess. Congratulations, Katie. Good job.
Okay, so we'll follow that up with our new sentence.
Okay, what you got for us now?
Okay, here we go. I think this will work. We are born, we are given just so much food as will keep the breath in our bodies, and those of us who are capable of it are forced to work to the last atom of our strength. In the very instant that our usefulness has come to an end, we are slaughtered with hideous cruelty.
Wow, you keep coming up with really cheerful sentences.
I know. It's very nice.
Okay.
One more time. Here we go. I just actually read this one recently. That's why it's in my... Okay. We are born, we're given just so much food as will keep the breath in our bodies, and those of us who are capable of it are forced to work to the last atom of our strength. In the very instant that our usefulness has come to an end, we are slaughtered with hideous cruelty.
I don't know what this is from. I have a guess that it's a nationality.
We'll see.
Okay, well, I won't say any more, but I'll be curious to see. We'll talk about this afterwards.
Yes. Okay. Well, anyways, that's our quote from the day. I think there's enough there to get it if you've read it, but again, I'm kind of always just guessing.
I should probably make sure I pick out, assuming we do a regular episode next month, I should probably make sure I'm the one who picks it out so it's a little bit something more festive.
What? You mean not festive at Chris's podcast? Yes. I was like, it's a new podcast. It's Christmas. Oh, yeah, I guess it is.
How do you miss it?
My brain. Okay. Anyways, that is our Once Upon a Sentence. If you know it or you want to guess and you think you know it, email us at derailedtrains@gmail.com.
Or I guess you could leave us a comment on our website, derailed-trains-of-thought.com.
Or you messenger us directly at our Facebook page.
Yeah,
as well.
That's true.
All right. We'll move from there. And I think today, guys, we are going to do a bit of story.
It's been a little while since we did a bit of story, but I think it is time for another one of your flash fictions, Nick.
Yes. Someday we'll run out of them, but that will be many episodes from now.
Yeah, have you written, when was the last time you did one, actually?
It's been a while. I think a month ago I published one. I forgot to advertise it though. So
So it's just on your website.
I was just busy. It's just on my website. I need to do that later, but I had just enough time to publish it, and then I forgot, and then I'm like, what's the use? So there's like 163 of them there. I just have not had much time to do them lately, unfortunately. Anyways, this one is called A Pleasant Dream, which title-wise seemed to make sense in this podcast. So I will go ahead and read this. It's a pretty short one.
And then maybe we'll talk a little bit about it afterwards.
Yes. It was one of those dreams that Martin remembered vividly when he woke, and that he never did forget afterward. Sometimes he recalled it during the day and mistook it for a misplaced memory. In it, he was at a city park. The grass shone with life. The blue ocean of the sky hung overhead. The sun suffused every detail. His daughter, Hope, lay on her stomach in the grass and read, her fingers intertwined in her long red hair. His son, Jonathan, propelled himself higher and higher on the swing. With a shout, he flew into the air, his body like a high jumper's, and landed with a roll in a cloud of dust. He brushed himself off. "Hope," he said, standing to block her light. "Hope, will you play with me? Let me finish this chapter." "Oh, fine." Jonathan squatted and began to tear the grass. Hope, peering up at him, closed her book. "I'll read later." "Push me on the merry-go-round." Jonathan took his place on the outer edge and gripped the bars. Hope, grinning, took hold and began to push the merry-go-round in its circle. She leaned forward, her thin legs straining against the packed dirt. Jonathan clung desperately as Hope gained speed. He fought the centrifugal force with every muscle in his body. Hope laughed as she saw him struggling and tried to add still more speed, her face as red as her hair in her exertion. Jonathan screamed gleefully as his fingers slipped. He flew off and landed in a tumble. "Are you all right?" Hope asked. She bent over, hands on her knees, and tried to catch her breath. "That was awesome." Jonathan tried to stand, but collapsed in a heap in his dizziness. About here, the dream became unclear to Martin. One other image remained. The older sister, book under her arm, and the younger brother running ahead, both with their backs to him as they headed home. When Martin woke, he lay awake, thinking of the dream. When he dressed, he paused and looked at the pregnant figurine that stood by the dresser mirror. The label in front had 2 dates and 2 names, Hope and Jonathan. "I had a dream this morning," Martin told his wife at breakfast. "About what?" "About our children." He hesitated. It was real, as if I was watching them at the park. It had been a long time since he had thought of the miscarriages. His wife, tears in her eyes and smiling sadly, put her hand on his. "Tell me about it." So that is the story of A Pleasant Dream.
So, Nick,
Yes.
was there an inspiration that inspired you to write
Yes, this
one?
is actually, okay, I had no dream like this, but early in our marriage, we had 2 miscarriages, and we had this little figurine, and I think that was just inspiration for this. Yeah, that idea of I don't actually remember how I came up with it. The story exists now, which is, I guess, memory enough. It was a rough go for a while for especially, for both of those, but especially Natasha.
Sure.
After those, so
having had kids now, having 3 of them.
Yeah.
Do you look back at the story and does it take on a different feel? Like, how do you react to it after the fact?
I guess not. And again, I think that's more to do with my personality and my how my brain processes. I'm not a terribly emotional person. It's interesting when I read it now. I feel like, well, I have the older son, but like the girl, except for right here, is Serenity. I mean, when I read that's what I envision now.
Sure.
Because that's my because she's tall and thin and reads books all the time and would happily do that for a younger brother. We have no younger brother. Mm-hmm. So in some ways, it's almost become, I guess I more envision my kids there now than the miscarriages. So yeah.
Just different.
Just different now. Yep. Yeah. That was written in 2010. Or at least published in 2010.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say, I feel like that would have been early. Well, was it on the website then?
Well, it was published on this website, but I think they existed on a different website originally.
That's what I thought.
So
yeah, because I feel like
they're probably earlier than that, actually.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
So,
well, I think that's a neat example of writing, creating as a means of expressing an inner thought.
I think writing not only is that good for the creator sometimes, but I think the more honest or real the creator is, the more other people connect with it, because we all share most of the same experiences one way or another, even if it's not directly.
Sure. Even though it's a fictional story, it's sharing a part of you in a way that other people can understand. Mm-hmm. Well, very nice. Thank you for sharing that one.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
What do we have next for
Next,
this
we
episode?
will do It Came from the Interwebs. All right, so for today's It Came from the Intrawebs. This is not directly connected to dreams, but it's an app called Dream.
That's close.
By Wombo, apparently.
Wombo combo.
But anyways, one of the big things on the internet now is you type prompts in and they'll use AI to create a picture for you.
Yes, I've seen these all over the place.
And it's just kind of fun to play with. And if you haven't done it, go do it. But we thought it'd be fun, even though it's a very visual thing, to just kind of have fun typing ridiculous things in and then just kind of describing what the computer comes up with. Because
what kind of art it comes up with.
AI artists are a little weird sometimes. Way back when we had the AI write us a story.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
And it was kind of weird.
It got weird for sure. Yeah, I haven't actually played with this myself. I've seen the results of people playing with these AI image things, but I've never actually made one for myself.
What do you think if we took our Death of Ivan Ilyich? We can't put all in.
Is it 200 letter limit?
I guess so. Why says 152 out of 200? Anyways, we got,
maybe it is words. Maybe. Okay, well, anyway.
So we put in the entire Once Upon a Sentence.
From last month.
The
one about everyone being relieved that someone else died.
Okay, what style do you want, Tim?
Oh, goodness.
Street art? Ghibli.
Okay, try Ghibli art. I'm curious now.
Ghibli, Miyazaki, and etc.
Like, it's such a bleak sentence. I can't imagine
this is going to be weird.
What this thing will come up with. Processing.
What in the world?
Okay, so I see there's a landscape with clouds. What kind of Howl's Moving Castle?
Howl's Moving Castle sort of landscape. And then
it looks like it was trying to draw a woman. At least that looks kind of like black hair, but it's more like a brutalist statue, I guess.
Yeah, it's like some sort of weird windmill woman cubist thing. So
the landscapes make me think Ghibli, but not the picture.
That is weird.
I don't know how this relates.
I don't even know how it has anything to do at all. Yeah.
So okay, try it one more time.
I'm going to regenerate it by the same thing. See if it does anything different here.
Okay. It might be too long of a sentence.
It might be too long.
We're probably supposed to do shorter things.
Okay, this one's looking interesting. We got some trees
on some layered hills or something.
Yeah, and some weird black horse thing.
It looks like the woman's hair again. Like, is that kind of a face in the clouds kind of deal?
And then there's a person down at the bottom who has a speech bubble for some reason.
Yeah, I think I think you have to do something much shorter than the actual sentence.
Well, we named the artwork. We're not naming the artwork.
Earlier, you were doing the name of our podcast. I think we should try some more versions of that. So, Derailed Trains of Thought. That's a nice, succinct phrase.
Oh, let's finally watch this. We should do too.
Oh, that's
and
true.
Weekly Hijack. We need to do all of them.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. We'll start
Derailed
with Derailed Trains of Thought.
Yeah. What style you want? Just a normal sort of thing? Realistic?
I don't know.
Retro-futurism?
You pick this one.
I picked this one. Oh, wow, there's a lot of styles. Dark fantasy.
Yeah, I want to see a dark fantasy version of Derailed Trains of Thought.
that exists. This is going to be your new logo, everyone. No matter what happens.
No, I doubt it. It's thinking.
It's so dystopian, guys.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, this is nice. I kind of dig this one.
Okay, so previously when you did this, it didn't look like an actual derailed train. It was much more like mundane or pastoral. This one is straight up. This train is on fire.
There's a lot of fire, and the train track looks like it's like 17 train tracks all like combined on top of each other.
Yeah, there are definitely people who died in this particular derailed train.
It's basically all you see is the wreckage of the train track, fire, and smoke.
Yep.
Okay, that's a new logo.
That's very sad. I mean, it's nice watercolor. It looks kind of watercolor.
It does look kind of watercolorish.
Okay, let's try it with another style.
Oh, another style. Okay.
Yeah.
Oops, I need.
Well, it's going to give us another.
I think it's going to give us another dark fantasy. So
dark fantasies.
Just erase
thing?
this.
Okay.
Whoa, it's like.
Wait, what in the world?
We're an airship now, guys.
That's not a derailed train. That's a derailed airship.
No, it's an airship train. See, it has this like stack here.
Oh, okay.
I mean, because it's painted by computer, nothing quite fits.
No.
You almost have to kind of blink or squint to make it work.
Or look at it from a distance without your glasses on, like I'm doing.
But it looks like there's just fire. It's like a steampunk.
Or like a dark Jetsons house.
Dark Jetsons house. I love it. Okay, do you want a different style derailed trains then?
Yes, let's go with let's try cartoonist.
Cartoonist. I like cartoons. Okay, let's do this.
That'll be a nice change of pace. Cartoonist.
Oh, interesting.
Okay, so this looks kind of like a kind of an Amtrak kind of
an Amtrak style. Very thin. It's like one person thin.
Yeah.
Wide. It's like you fit like one person in.
I'm not sure I would call this cartoonist. I guess, although it kind of makes me think of like some children's books, some like more realistic kind of illustrations.
One's going around this curve, like a nice bend, and then there's just another train, like just sitting right next to it on this track that goes nowhere.
One single car, essentially.
It's like if this was a kid's book, it'd be like, this is the main thing. This is like the lonely train that needs to make a friend.
Pretty much. Yeah, so the thing with these AI things, it does feel they're so kind of bizarre and non-human that it does feel kind of dreamlike.
Now, I do know, that's true. I do know that some people, I read an article recently of some guy who won some art contests using this sort of stuff.
Oh.
But I think there's one that you can pay for. I think you can run it and then you can keep tweaking it.
That would make sense.
And you can input some stuff that will use more.
So that you can kind of like, gives you a base to start with and then like you kind of direct it in a more...
Yeah, and I think you can say, hey, pick Michelangelo, and you can kind of more specialized stuff. Let's try Weekly Hijack here.
Okay, so let's
try
your turn to pick the style.
Let's do line art.
Okay.
So like we're just pencil drawing this thing,
okay, gotcha.
I think. Wait, what? Whoa.
The Weekly Hijack, it looks more like
it's like an artist studio, kind of.
There's like, so in the front of the picture, there's some artist's tools, I guess, like maybe some pencils, a bowl for something, bottles for paint of something.
A jewelry box, maybe?
I don't know. But then behind all that, taking up the bulk of the image, is an easel, I guess, with basically some splotched art on it. Like
black paint.
Spots, yeah.
That's
nothing about this says Weekly Hijack.
No, I don't know how they got that. That is weird. You want another one of that style or a different style?
I'm curious. That's just so out there. I'm curious if it will do something similar to that or we'll do something completely else. Oh no! Now we're just gone full abstract art here. Just swirls.
How's that Weekly Hijack? I mean, it's like one of those like Zen coloring books, but. That's weird.
Yeah. Okay. That's bizarre.
Okay, we gotta try this again. We gotta get something out.
Yeah, we gotta get something that actually looks like the words that we're using here. You've been wanting to use street art.
Let's try street art. Come on, because I can see Weekly Hijack being all like graffiti-ish, maybe. Wait, what?
Well, that's not what I pictured. I mean, it looks like street art.
It is street art, but there's literally a guy.
Almost like a caricature. I mean, it looks like street art. It's designed to look like it's been painted onto a building. This one guy with a giant caricature-like head.
Yeah.
With black frizzy hair. I guess, I don't know. What nationality would you... Is he African-American? I'm not even sure.
I don't know. Giant nose.
Giant nose, big lips, big ears.
Random... What is going on? I'm gonna put the weekly hijack
Okay.
just to help. Let's try.
Maybe they don't know what to do with hijack.
Maybe they don't know what to do with hijack. Yeah,
It's
let's
another
just do
train
normal
sort of thing.
fantasy art,
Okay.
not dark fantasy.
I feel like we ought to try steampunk after this.
Yeah,
That
we'll try that
sounds
with. Let's finally watch this,
Okay.
or we could try it with this. If we don't get something good. I'm actually because hijack seems like you could do something interesting, but AI must have nothing to. Don't know what to do with this. I was thinking a long time here, guys.
Yeah, it's not sure what to do with.
A fantasy weekly hijack.
Hijack just must not be a word that the AI has been introduced to a lot. I
guess that's good. Okay, I don't think it's going to load. I don't think that the AIs have any idea what to do with this. Guys, we are a long way from computer overlords, okay? They can't even make a picture out of weekly hijack.
At least in a fantasy style. So, okay, well, maybe go back and try that again with steampunk.
All right.
Because
look at this. You can upload an image to give it a style.
Oh, interesting. Okay, it's working on something here.
Ooh.
It's interesting when it loads these things. It like makes it in stages, like almost like you're watching it paint, sort of.
If you've ever played Dixit,
yeah,
these are kind of Dixit style things.
Or Mysterium.
Okay, yeah. Well, the images are very got this surreal
Kind of
thing.
abstract, surrealish.
Like they're trying to be realistic, but even the realistic ones are not. Why? Is my internet dying?
I don't know. I don't know if it's that or we just really whatever it was trying to load. It looked like some sort of towers.
It's almost like a steampunk hobbit house.
I could say that.
Like it's in the big city, but there's like it looks like a round little opening here.
Almost like a little waterfall coming out.
Little waterfall. Maybe? Yeah, it's if you ever played Machinarium.
I've seen it.
It looks like that sort of style. That Sam or whatever those people are.
Okay, well let's try something else because it seems to be getting hung up on weekly.
Here's what I want to do. We're going to pick. Let's finally watch this.
So we've been using our 3 podcast titles, folks.
But here's what we're going to do. I'm going to upload. Oh, I could pick a style. Let's do.
How about retrofuturism?
Where's that? Right there.
Right
Retrofuturism. But here's what I want to do. I want to add an image.
Okay.
Gangs of New York. Here we are.
Oh gosh.
We're using one of the images that we're using for our website.
Yeah.
For when it comes out. So we'll see what happens. Whoa. Oh no. Too much.
Wow, it turned Bill the Butcher, the character from Gangs of New York, into like a...
he looks like a marionette from some bizarre Pinocchio.
Or an android. Yeah, maybe Pinocchio. Yeah, something like that.
Okay, we're not doing that again. I will have nightmares tonight. Okay, realistic. We need a realistic. Let's finally watch this.
Okay. I thought maybe...
No, get rid of the... No, okay.
He still had the Bill the Butcher image set in it, and now he makes him look like a vampire or something. You're really like El Kemp's a vampire.
This is where the medium audio fails. It's frightening, guys. Okay, we gotta get rid of this image.
Hilarious, yeah.
Okay, get rid of that. Okay,
get rid of evil Daniel Day-Lewis.
Okay, and then we're going to do what are we doing again? Realistic?
I don't remember. Yeah, sure, realistic.
Okay. Wow, that was something else. I think putting an image in makes it way more exciting. When you put like something in like, and then like say vampire on it or something that will change it.
I wonder what if we did put in our the logo for Let's Finally Watch This, because I wonder if it's these two abstract ideas. Like it's having a hard time coming up with.
Yeah, let's try that. Let's see if I can.
Because he was just loading and loading again.
Yeah.
Because maybe it needs like nouns or something.
Yeah, let's try that. So we're gonna take our fight. Let's finally watch this
logo, the podcast
logo, which is if you have not seen it,
it's basically a like a movie theater. What do you say? Marquee sign.
Yep.
Against red curtain backdrop. Very generic, kind of stereotypical movie-ish look.
What style do we want to put in? What words do we want to change it, manipulate it?
Oh, so we're going to put words in it and with the podcast logo.
You're going to put the podcast logo, and then we're going to put words that will alter it.
Unforgiven.
Okay. So let's be more obvious. Say cowboy.
Okay. Cowboy Western.
And let's put outlaw.
Okay.
Should we just try a normal comic? Let's make it a comic.
Okay, sure.
All right, here we go.
Let's see how well it reads us.
No. What in the what? Oh, they had a cow. Okay, so it's like sort of the same thing.
It's the same logo, essentially. Like it didn't change the positioning of the marquee sign.
It does say, let's own now watch this.
But it changed some of the special lights going around the sign
to fences.
The fences, like they're Western themes. There's like a door at the top where there was originally like a big
and almost horns or something,
or like a wagon train,
maybe, and a cow at the bottom.
And a cow at the bottom.
Man, first graders could do better than that.
You know what? This really is like the kind of abstract art where you look at this thing and say, well, what do you see in this thing? It's almost like a Rorschach kind of thing again.
Actually, here's what we need to do. I want to take Lawrence Arabia, okay?
So the image of Lawrence that we use for the episode.
Which is a very iconic image.
Yes.
All right, so let's take him.
I do suspect that's, the fact that we put cowboy, I think you do need to put a noun of some sort.
So what nouns are we going to change his face into? Let's wait, a cyborg?
Yeah, I was just thinking it should be something very techno.
Blade Runner. Cyborg, Blade Runner, and Darth Vader. Okay?
What are you going to do to poor Lawrence here?
Retrofuturism again?
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course.
So this is going to be from a historical drama. Oh, and how much influence the original had. Oh, let's do that too.
You can change how much it actually looks like the original version of the picture.
And let's do weak.
Minor influence.
Okay.
So we've changed the amount that it should rely on the original picture. Whoa. So we've got a...
that's like old school, early conceptions of Darth Vader style.
Yeah, so the face, the mask part looks very similar. You get the eyes and the breathing part where the mouth is.
But it's very sleek after that.
It's very sleek. It looks more like, I don't know, like a retro Boba Fett helmet beside the face part.
And there's a cityscape in front. It's like a movie poster. It's kind of cool.
It really is. Yeah, it totally knew who Darth Vader was.
Yes. Okay, let's do the same thing, but let's make it
you want to increase
the influence of Lawrence.
Yeah, because basically it took the color style of that picture of Lawrence. It seemed to be the biggest influence that it used and all that.
We'll keep the same retrofuturism going on.
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay, now that's kind of awesome.
Wow. It put it's the same pose as the
So
picture of Lawrence.
He has the sort of hood, the
white, what do they call that? The Arab hood thing. But it's certainly Darth Vader inspired, but it doesn't look directly like Darth Vader here.
It's somewhere between Darth Vader and Doctor Doom.
Yeah. It's very interesting, the eyes and the hollow nose. And...
Okay, I think we figured out how to use this thing now.
Yeah, this is pretty cool.
Okay, let's change Lawrence to something completely different. Mermaid, crab, and Atlantis. Okay?
Okay.
And let's do it comic style. That makes sense with that? Or do you want something else? Ghibli?
Okay, Ghibli. Yeah, I could go with Ghibli.
Should we start with weak or medium?
Let's go weak first.
Okay. So this is still Lawrence. His very intense eyes, intense look. But he's going to be mermaid, some sort of hopefully oceany feel. They're having a little trouble, it looks like. They're like, what are we doing with mermaid crab Atlantis? Oh.
Whoa.
Something's cool is happening. Oh, weird.
Wow,
Okay, this is cool, guys.
This is wild. I don't see any resemblance to Lawrence here. This is like an aerial view of an ocean floor, I guess, or is it like a coral bed?
I can't tell, but it's like there's water, and then there's these little kind of islands, and there's this floating island above it. It's like something you see for initial drawing for a Final Fantasy, like that.
Yeah, it's interesting. You can still kind of see the outline of where Lawrence's head
there's his head.
Is.
Yeah,
there's the white scarf. It kind of borders the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. It's like his face became an ocean.
Yes. I don't see any mermaids in there, but it's like a wild, old 50s sci-fi mermaid Atlantis thing.
Mm-hmm. So let's do, was that Ghibli?
I guess so.
Let's do normal.
Go back to normal. Okay, so this will probably be more of a portrait again, I'm guessing.
We're guessing, yeah.
Well, then again.
Oh, weird. This is super surreal, guys, because his face is there, the outline face, but on top of it is this
armored crab thing?
The armored crab is kind of awesome. And there's this, I think this is a mermaid. I think it's hair and fin.
I'm not seeing mermaid personally.
Okay, I don't know. It's not melding them together.
No, it's not. It's more like the armored crab is superimposed on top of the original picture of Lawrence.
Yeah.
That one didn't work quite as well.
So anything else you want to try before we...
Just because I've been eyeing it for a while.
And
I want to try the polygon style.
Do we want to still do it with Lawrence?
For quick sake. Let's make him a spy.
Okay. Ooh, spy. Spy might be enough.
James Bond.
And dangerous. No.
Explosion.
Explosion. We're taking this very serious historical drama. That Darth Vader, and we should have taken a pic. We should have saved that one.
We should have. That was awesome looking.
What in the?
Oh.
Okay, so it's like some sort of weird polygon, half Lawrence, half Bond, I guess.
I don't know. Is it Roger Moore? Blend of Roger Moore and Peter O'Toole?
Yeah, I think so. In like this weird, it's almost like Clone Wars style.
Oh yeah,
like the very boxy faces.
The CGI cartoon.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, I can see that.
I'm going to generate the same thing again.
Oh, no changes in the setting. Obviously, we're still going with another portrait here, essentially. Whoa, it went way more cubalist.
Whoa, yeah. I don't see how the Bond has anything to do with it at this point. But
no.
Wait, I want to do dark fantasy, spy.
Turn the influence down, yeah.
Okay. I could see I could just waste a lot of time doing this.
Yeah.
I can see how you get so into it, you'd pay for it so it works faster, that you have more data or something.
It's like you just telling an artist, hey, make random stuff. And it's like, okay.
Oh. They just superimpose on the face. We need a better... though it works kind of cool as a superimpose, actually.
Yeah, it's really just using the image as kind of like a
background.
The shape.
The shape.
With like
which would be interesting, depending on your... But look, so there's kind of a spy, very hard to tell. It's like a speeder bike or a spaceship.
It looks like I can see the car. It looks like a car that's, half a car.
Yeah, but it's like there's explosions.
There's explosions going on.
Every time we see dark fantasy, there's just fire.
Yeah,
that's just basically what they do. And it's all over kind of the circle of his hood. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it's actually a pretty nice picture. One of the better ones we've gotten.
Yeah. So anyway, that is Dream by Wombo.
It is very surreal though. It is that sort of like it's both interesting and like it doesn't quite mean anything. Mm-hmm. It's interesting because it's so weird, not because it's necessarily good.
Yeah.
At least this level.
I keep saying some of these remind me of like 50s and 60s sci-fi book covers. Mm-hmm. Like there's some I've seen of even Lewis's Space Trilogy that are just kind of bizarre looking. Yeah. And that kind of like, what am I looking at here exactly?
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's worth going to try it. Nouns are really good.
Yeah.
And I think having a starting picture can help depending on how iconic the picture is.
I have to admit, I think playing with it and entering random words is in some ways more fun than seeing, because I've seen people post some of the results they'd get on like Twitter and things, but I think it's more fun to play with it yourself.
Yeah. So with that, I guess we should get out of here. I don't have still any weapons.
No, we should at least try to find a sword of some sort,
or
maybe
a secret,
maybe a boomerang.
Yeah, I think that would work. I'm sure it seems like we find one thing, we might then be able to find more stuff, and then
that would make sense to me. I mean, that's the way these things usually go.
Yeah. But before we take off, I need to do my soundtrack. So I just picked this because it had the word dream in it. So I was not as clever as you were for your soundtrack.
Before you intro your soundtrack, I think we should mention real quick that Let's Finally Watch This is still ongoing. We should talk about our stuff.
That's true.
Let's Finally Watch This. The season is still ongoing. It will go until mid-December, and then we'll have an epilogue for our first season at the end of December.
I think if you have any interest in movies, you'll enjoy it. We've heard good stuff from some of the responses, and we really enjoyed doing it.
Yes, indeed.
Anyway, I learned a lot because I don't think I'd seen any of these movies.
And I'd only seen a handful of them, but we go into the history of the decade in which they came out. Probably next season, I've been thinking about it will probably wind up being more focused specifically on the year as opposed to the decade.
That makes sense.
Since we covered a lot of the stuff this season. But hopefully you will enjoy some of that background, and as well as, again, this is for people who have always meant to watch classic movies. So if you have ever been just curious about what a movie is about, we'll give you the rundown. That is generally spoiler-free.
And I think really there's at least one movie you'll enjoy on this list, if not multiple ones.
Absolutely. Yeah. And be sure to check out our website, derailedtrainsofthought.com, where you can find Let's Finally Watch This, as well as all of our episodes of this podcast.
So with that, I'll do my soundtrack. I picked it from the game Radical Dreamers, which is a weird, like, Japanese-only game between Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross.
They did finally release it in the recent re-release of Chrono Cross.
They did. I saw that. I have not played it. It's kind of a
text-based thing. Yeah, I'm not sure how much of a game it is. It's just more fiction, but...
And I know some of the songs got transferred into Chrono Cross. some of the themes. But I was surprised that we've never actually done a Radical Dreamer song, and there's some fun ones. So they actually made a whole album on it on Overclock Remix quite a while ago. But I chose Days of Summer, version 2 apparently, remixed by Kay Triton, Poso Yan, and Christopher Plaukod. I'm going to say that how you say it. Which I think you enjoy. It's peppy, and it got stuck in my brain ages ago, and I'm like, oh, I can play that one now for the podcast. So hopefully you'll enjoy. And meanwhile, we'll find a village or something.
Yes.
Maybe throw a chicken around.
Be careful of those chickens. You never know. They might be more dangerous than you
It
think.
seemed like you had a soundtrack about that once.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
sounds vaguely familiar.
All right. Well, anyway, this has been Nick.
And this is Tim.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Bye-bye.